All right, let's talk about sleep. We live in this hustle culture where pulling an all-nighter is almost like a badge of honor. We treat sleep like it's this luxury we can just skip when things get busy. But what if I told you that's one of the worst things you could possibly do for your health? Seriously? Today we're going to get into the truly alarming science of what happens when you don't get enough sleep.
So, I gotta ask, are you one of those people? The ones who say, oh, I'm fine on 5 hours of sleep. Maybe you even feel like you're crushing it, getting more done than anyone else? Well, I hate to break it to you, but the science? Oh, the science tells a completely different and frankly, a much scarier story.
Yeah, because what's actually going on inside your body, inside your brain, it is anything but fine. This isn't just about feeling a little groggy or needing an extra cup of coffee. No way. We are talking about serious, long-term, system-wide damage.
And just to give you a sense of the scale of this problem, let's throw a number out there. 70 million. That's how many people in the US alone are estimated to have a chronic sleep disorder. I mean, think about that. That's more than 1 out of every 5 adults. It is a massive public health crisis that, for some reason, we're just not talking about enough.
But wait, it gets even crazier. You want to know what's really shocking? Experts figure that up to 80%, 80 of those sleep disorders might be completely undiagnosed. That means millions upon millions of people are walking around actively damaging their health and they probably have no idea. It's a silent epidemic. Okay, so let's really dive into what's going on here. First up, your brain's cry for help. Seriously, let's talk about the command center, because your brain takes the first and hardest hit from sleep loss. See, a lot of us think of sleep as just switching off, but it's not. Your brain is actually running a critical night shift maintenance crew. And when you cut that shift short, your brain is basically sending out an SOS.
So look at this. On the one hand, you've got a well-rested brain. It's busy filing away memories, kind of like organizing a library, and doing this super important cleanup of all the junk that builds up during the day. But then you have the sleep-deprived brain. It's just struggling. And get this, a single night of bad sleep can tank your ability to form new memories by up to 40%. And even worse, that cleanup crew, they never showed up. All that toxic gunk is just left sitting there.
And what is that gunk I'm talking about? Well, one of the main culprits is a nasty little protein called amyloid beta. And this right here is where things get really serious. Research shows that just one bad night's sleep can cause levels of this stuff to spike in your brain. And why is that so terrifying? Because the buildup of these amyloid plaques, well, that's one of the telltale signs of Alzheimer's disease.
So let's be crystal clear about this. The link isn't just a theory anymore. We're past that. A massive amount of research, including a big statement from the American Heart Association, confirms it. Chronic insomnia is an independent risk factor for dementia. That means it's not just a symptom, it's a potential cause. This isn't about forgetting your keys tomorrow. This is about fundamentally raising your risk for devastating brain diseases later in life.
Okay, so we've covered the brain, but it is definitely not the only victim here. Let's talk about the body's hidden toll. Because the damage from sleep loss spreads throughout your entire system, and the price your body pays is just as high, even if you don't feel it right away.
And when I say the price is high, I mean it. The numbers are staggering. If you consistently sleep less than 6 hours a night, your risk of having a stroke can skyrocket by 4.5 times. 4.5! And you want to know how fast this happens? Think about daylight saving time. That 1 hour of sleep we lose, it causes a 24% spike in heart attacks the very next day. A single hour! That just shows you how desperately your body needs that nightly reset.
On top of that, lack of sleep completely messes with your hormones. It's like a chemical civil war inside your body. You see here, when you get good sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which is awesome. It repairs cells and keeps you healthy. And it keeps cortisol, the stress hormone, in check. But with poor sleep, whoa, it completely flips. You get less of the good repair hormone and a huge surge of the bad stress hormone. You're basically putting your body into a constant state of high alert.
And now for the one we all know firsthand, the impact on your mood and mind. I mean, we've all been there, right? Grumpy, foggy, just off after a rough night. But we tend to just brush it off as a temporary thing. The truth is, the chronic effects are way more serious than we give them credit for.
Yeah, the link is absolutely undeniable. We know that chronic insomnia is a huge risk factor for developing serious mood and anxiety disorders. But even just day-to-day, not getting enough sleep just fuels that irritability, that exhaustion. It makes it almost impossible to focus. It's not just about being tired. Your ability to manage your emotions and even just to think clearly is fundamentally broken.
Okay, I know that was a lot of doom and gloom. So the big question is, what on earth can we do about it? Well, the good news is that science doesn't just point out the problem, it also gives us solutions. So let's shift gears and look at what the experts actually recommend.
For people dealing with chronic insomnia, the clinical consensus is really clear. And you might be surprised. The #1 gold standard treatment is not a sleeping pill. It's something called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. It's a type of therapy that basically retrains your brain and your habits for better sleep. Now, medication does have a place, but it's seen as a short-term fix, something to use for just a few weeks to break a really bad cycle.
And for the rest of us just looking to up our sleep game, it really comes down to what experts call sleep hygiene. It's all about building good habits that tell your body it's time to power down. You know, simple stuff, like laying off stimulants like caffeine and, yes, even alcohol and tobacco later in the day. That stuff makes a massive difference. And of course, making sure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet, creating a real sanctuary for sleep.
So if there is one single thing you take away from all of this, please let it be this. Sleep is not a luxury. It is not optional. It is not a sign of weakness to need 8 hours. It is a fundamental, non-negotiable biological need. It is the third pillar of health, right up there with diet and exercise. And it's time we started treating it that way.
Look, building a better sleep routine is one of the best things you can possibly do for your long-term health. So I'll leave you with this little piece of advice. Do everything you can to create a stable bedtime routine, but, try not to lose any sleep over it. Thanks for tuning in.